on the current 49ers roster, which players would qualify to be in the top 5 at their position in the entire NFL, not NFC,
Right.
NFL.
Right.
And I'm going to go with if you don't mind, I'll go with the obvious one. George Kittle, at tight end. He might be the best tight end right now. Gronkowski's coming back. If he's not the top 1, he's the top 2 or 3. I think you'd agree with that.
He's the best.
The best. Okay.
He's the best.
And I'd say 2 reasons I think he is top 5, if not the very number 1, is he's a great receiver, like a wide receiver, and he's also a hell of a run blocker. Right. And he's a blocker on pass plays. Right. So he's a multifaceted player, which is why he's apparently asking for a lot of money. Would you agree with what I've said?
Absolutely. And one of the things I like most about him is that he seems to take more pleasure in blocking than catching passes, even though he could be a wide receiver. But the Niners are a run-first team, and they'll have games where they run the ball 45 times, and it seems like he actually gets the most pleasure from just blocking people, which is he's a throwback. It's like he plays in the 1970s.
You know, Dwight Clark was like that. He loved to block downfield.
Interesting. It's like these late-round draft picks that made a name for themselves doing dirty work and then became superstars. It's like they haven't lost the ethic to do the little things, and it's endearing.
Kittle and Dwight Clark would really get along. They would and they would understand each other.
Why?
Hey, you name someone now.
Well, you just brought up an interesting. I will, but why would Kittle and Dwight Clark like each other?
Both were physical, tough players. Both had. Now, I've never met Kittle, but only I know from you.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about Dwight. He was friendly. He was not a snob. He was normal. You could talk to him like he wasn't a superstar and you were a schlubby, ink-stained wretch. And my feeling, I could be wrong about Kittle, is you can relate to him exactly the same way. I would say they had similar, positive, normal, joyous personalities.
No question. Okay, let's move on to the next player on the 49ers who's top 5 at his position. I'm going with another obvious one. He's a new guy, Trent Williams. He hasn't played in about a year, but when he does play, he's universally regarded as the best offensive tackle in the league. And he's not just a great run blocker. Like, remember Trent Brown on the 49ers, who's now on the Raiders? He's a great pass protector. Great. He's 6'8" and he moves his feet really well, but he has a tough time run blocking, especially the kind that the Niners do where they have guys running down the line. He's just not that fast. Trent Williams can do that stuff too. He's the perfect fit for the 49ers, and he's going to get probably $23 million per season next year if he stays healthy. So he would be number 2 on the list.
Okay, so what we've got so far, and this is such a credit to the 49ers, the first 2 people we've named are each the best. In the league, in the position. Now, I'm going to go out on the limb a little. I don't know how you feel about this, and remember, you know these players better than I do. I'm going to say Raheem Mostert.
Oh, that was the bonus number 5. I'm glad you said that. Go ahead. You talk.
Well, again, I don't go in the press box anymore, but I do watch film with you, and I've watched him play a lot. Holy mackerel. Yeah. This is a guy. Where was he?
Right.
Who didn't know this? It's like he gets the ball 6 yards, 7 yards.
Easy.
Or Iggy, was he a track guy?
Yes, he was. I think he ran like a 10-1, 100-meter dash. Yeah.
Blazing.
And he has the long stride and the high knee lift that most running backs don't have. Most running backs have those choppy little steps so they can change directions. This guy has that big stride, and defenders constantly underestimate how fast he's going.
Roger Craig was exactly the same way, and he was a hurdler in the Big Ten, I believe.
Yep.
It's the high knee lift. It gets you so much distance.
That's right.
And power on every stride. And what's more, when I look at Mostert, he seems sort of like a genius at seeing and reacting to the whole. I love to watch him play. So, Iggy, I don't know where he ranks with current running backs, and I haven't actually researched it. But my gut feeling is he has to be in the top 5. Would you agree?
I do agree. Now, he's like the classic. There's been a debate about Shanahan running backs since I was 10 years old, going back to Terrell Davis. Is it Davis or is it the scheme? Would Terrell Davis have been as good on the Raiders or the 49ers? No, but who cares? He fits a scheme, he plays in that scheme, and he's one of the best in the league doing what he's asked to do. And I think that applies to Raheem Mostert too. This guy could legitimately lead the league in rushing next year. So how could he not qualify? Why would you give all the credit to Kyle Shanahan when Tevin Coleman doesn't have the same success in this system? Even Matt Breida didn't have the same success. Something special about Raheem Mostert. You said he's a genius. I would say he's a genius in the same way that Nick Mullins is a genius. It's common sense. When those guys get in the game, they find George Kittle and they let him help them. When Nick Mullins is throwing, he throws to George Kittle. When Raheem Mostert is running, he finds George Kittle and runs behind him. He makes your job easier. So I would say, yeah, he is a genius. He knows who can make him look better, and they really work well together.
Iggy, I'm going to give you a side note on something you said, like, is it Mostert or the system? And obviously it's a combination of both. But, that argument could go all the way back to Joe Montana.
Great point.
Joe Montana, Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback I ever saw. I'm sorry, Steve.
Steve would agree.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know about that. Steve has tremendous pride, and Steve was great.
Okay.
So I think it could even be an argument. But the point is, one of the reasons Joe was so great, he flourished in Bill Walsh's system. You and I know for a fact that at one point, Bill Walsh toyed with the idea of trading Joe to the Raiders. I don't know if people know this, but we know.
1986.
We know it for a fact.
Yeah.
And Al Davis said, Bill, send me some tape on Joe.
Yep.
And he watched it, and then he called Bill back and he said, look, we don't want Joe. Our receivers are fast, and they would outrun his arm. That's pretty much a direct quote.
Right.
They would outrun his arm, meaning he wouldn't be good for our system. And then he said, could we have Steve?
Yeah. Hey, what about Steve, though?
Bill ended the conversation.
Right. And you know what? Al Davis was right. If they had brought in Joe Montana, it would have been oil and water.
Yes. So of course, what you want is an athlete's talents and the system. So they both get credit.
No question. I'm glad that you put him in the top 5. Okay, my turn. How about the fullback, Kyle Juszczyk?
Oh.
Not only is he top 5 at his position, he's number 1 by far. Like, number 2 isn't even in the same ballpark as him. This guy is a phenomenal blocker. He's such a good blocker, he could almost be a tight end. He can make any block you need him to make. And he's a terrific receiver as well. They don't really use him as a running back, which makes him different than Tom Rathman or Mike Allstott, those kind of guys, but he's a great receiver. And by far the best fullback in the league. And he's one of the most important players on the 49ers because he makes their running game unique.
Okay, so we've done 4 players so far. 3 are the absolute best, and 1 is clearly in the top 5. This is a gifted roster.
And what's interesting is all 4 players we've named so far are on offense.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to come to defense now.
Yeah.
Had they still had Buckner,
of course,
I would say he was in the top 5, maybe the number 2 in the league.
He's number 2 behind Aaron Donald. No
exactly.
question.
But Iggy, they don't have him anymore. And I have to say, I am hard pressed to find someone on their defense who is top 5. You'd have to help me here.
Okay, well, let's do a process of elimination to get there. Okay. Not D Ford, he doesn't play enough.
Well, he was one of my questions, and that's my point. He gets injured and he doesn't play enough.
Right, so not D Ford.
But he's very good.
Oh, absolutely, but he would have to be more available. Not Eric Armstead, he's had 1 good season. Not Nick Bosa, he's had 1 good season. And his 1 good season consisted of 9 sacks, which makes him good, but it doesn't make him a top 5 edge rusher in the league just yet.
Okay,
not yet. He could be there.
Stop you for a second.
Sure.
I'm going to say not yet, but I think he will be.
I think so too. But I think let him accomplish it first.
All right.
Let him accomplish it first. Not Richard Sherman. He's getting older. He's good in zone coverage.
I was wondering about him.
Not Richard Sherman. He benefits from the pass rush. He's getting a little bit older. He can't really cover man-to-man. He's borderline, but not him.
Okay.
But I got someone. Fred Warner, the middle linebacker. I think he's one of the top 5 middle linebackers in the league. I don't think he's top 2 or 3, but he's only been in the league a couple of years. And he's improved steadily. I think he's right there at number 5. And I think he's now the leader of the defense now that Buckner's gone.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have one more question to ask you.
Yeah.
And it's in a context. You did a video earlier this week apologizing to Hart.
Yes.
For they should trade him. In the interest of good relations, where does he fit in the league?
Where does he fit in the league? He's not a top 5 strong safety, but I would say he's top 15, maybe even top 10. So you would call him a good strong safety. He's better than average. He's good. He's a B. And he could be a B plus A minus if he would just stop breaking hurting himself. But he plays very hard. He's a strong safety. He plays like a linebacker. He breaks down a little bit. He doesn't really intercept many passes or force many fumbles, which would bring him to the A level. If he could stay healthy and force a few fumbles a season, he'd be an A. But he doesn't, so he's a B. A lot of teams could use him. A lot of teams.
Okay, I hope he hears this.
That's right, Jaquaski.